Sir, I'm visible. Finally. Okay.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are visible. We start. Good afternoon, everybody. And I wanted to just take this time to start off by thanking you all for taking the time to join us for this evening. My name is Chandra Malidhara, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Rangam. We are now on the fifth day of the SourceAbled Inclusive India Summit 2020. I think we have some technical difficulty. Give me one second. Ravindraji and Sujay, you are able to hear me properly?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. I had a little technical issue. I think I need to restart. Once again, good afternoon, everybody. Let me start off by saying that thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Chandra Malidhara, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Rangam. We are now on the fifth day of the SourceAbled India Inclusive Summit. This summit includes masterclasses, corporate showcases, discussions, and a job fair with jobs curated for people with disabilities. Today we are here as part of the Masterclass 4 titled Tech Enabled Assistance. I'm joined by two guests who will help us all in navigating what is one of the most effective tools to bring about true inclusion. I would like to welcome Mr. Ravindra Singh, founder of My Udan. My Udan is a technologically driven social impact startup solving people mobility problems, especially for people with disabilities, elderly, bedridden, expectant mothers, and with people with temporary disabilities. Uh, I would request Mr. Ravindra Singh to give a brief introduction of himself, because I feel that I won't be able to do justice to both of you. So I'd like to request you all to give some introduction. I think Ravi, yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Ravi.
Oh, thank you, Chandra Malidhara. So my name is Ravindra. I'm the founder of MyUran, and MyUran is a technology-driven startup, uh, and we are trying to solve interrelated mobility challenges faced by people with limited mobilities. And we want to create a mobility ecosystem for the community, which can enable them to move out independently without any worry. And we provide the combination of product, technology, and services for this matter.
Great, that's great. Now I'd like to introduce Sujay, not request to introduce Sujay. I'd like to introduce Sujay Das. Sujay Das is a D&I thought leader, and he also works as a financial analyst at NetApp and has more than 14 years of experience in the ITS industry. Once again, I'd like to have Sujay introduce himself because that would do more justice. Thank you, Sujay.
Thank you, Chandramoli and Team Rangam, and good evening to everybody. And Ravindraji, good evening to you as well. And Soumya, thanks for doing this for us. So, to introduce myself, I'm Shujoy, based out of Bangalore, working as a financial analyst, and I identify myself as a queer disabled person, and my pronoun is he and him. I have been working in the DNI forum for quite some time and has been associated with different initiatives. And my intent of doing it, since I identify myself as a queer disabled person, I had polio when I was young. So I can be a voice and I can communicate the challenges, I can address those and bring those changes in my working place, in the society we are working in. So, and it's a great pleasure to hear you all and talk to you as well. Thank you.
As Thank you, Sujay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ravindraji. Thank you. As part of this initiative that we have put together, and as part of this little summit that we have been hosting, and as I said earlier in the introduction also, that this is the fifth day of the summit, and this is our fourth masterclass. We are trying not to look at the challenges, but also the amount of progress that has been made and the various avenues that have come and changed how disability and inclusion is not only pursued but is also accepted. So, having said that, today's topic is tech-enabled assistance. Technology has become like a great, I wouldn't say motivator, but definitely an equal. Technology has become a kind of an equalizer when it comes to the space of disability and inclusion and diversity and inclusion. There are many advances that have come, and we are going to be touching all of them. And then we will go be talking to Sujay and Ravindraji about what their perceptions are and how they see these things going. And we'll see where this conversation goes, because this is going to be a conversation, and I have been looking forward to this conversation for almost like 2 weeks now. So I'm excited too. Having said that, let's dive into this and let's see if we are able to have a conversation about what tech-enabled inclusion and tech-enabled accessibility means to everyone. See, usually we see that progress on the disability and inclusion initiatives has been very slow, and it's not just in India; it's everywhere. Disability inclusion practices and policies getting thought about and putting it into action has been slow. Uh, what are the main reasons for their lack of success? I'd like to start off with Ravindraji. Is that okay, or would Sujay like to go first?
Suja, you can lead. Thank you.
I think we are here having a conversation, a dialogue, so there is no challenge. And Ravindran, please go ahead and add. So, to address your question, Chandramoli, is one, I agree to a certain extent that this progress and the awareness, progress with the PWD candidate, PWD people are very slow across, and be it India, be it global, I can definitely mention that. And along with that, the intent of the government or the corporate have been there to include disabled people, people with disability. But the problem is, it is mostly limited itself in the paperwork. in the policies, it has not translated into the reality. And we, in the age post COVID era, or we are in the COVID era, and where technology is playing a vital role, I think this is a very pertinent topic. Like, how can we leverage technology and bring people with disability in all the spheres, be it in IT, be it in any other companies. I mean, I have been working in IT services for quite some time, and I know there have been initiatives by different organizations. But one thing is lacking is, which I have been saying in different forums, that the skill set mapping, identifying right candidates for the right role, and I mean here people with disability, and then place them. And that will make it much more easier for a company to function properly, and definitely the PWDs, people with disability, or disabled person will get a living. So I think we should leverage technology, and this is a great time, and we have come to know the benefits of work from home and other things which the technology has given us. So I think we should leverage that, and the work which we have not done in the past, to be very frank and candid, we should do it now. We should start doing now, and this conversation is pertinent uh, very much right away. I want to hear from Ravindraji as well, if you want to add anything, sir.
Sure. If we see today, like everything like is being driven by technology. What the cars, foods, TV shows, doctors, everyone that have in common is like they are can be booked online. But this segment, the assistive technology, or for the people with limited mobility, there is uh, the movement that is happening. It's happening in bits and pieces. There is no single epicenter app that target or try to solve this problem, because what happens when a people with limited mobility, like if he is able to venture out of their home, the next challenges comes in front of him, because the accessibility comes into the matter. If he is able to access that building or anything, the accessibility, then the other challenge is of the mobility products, the devices, the reach, and more important, the knowledge and the information about the ecosystem, like what is happening, that is not prevalent, that is not reaching to the masses. I believe that society talks about building a more inclusive environment, especially for people with limited mobility. Rather, it is our responsibility to figure out how to make everything we do inclusive. And this will accelerate progress in the area of disability, diversity, and inclusion. And I believe these barriers can be overcome by increasing accessibility to mainstream services, investing in specific programs for people with disabilities, and appropriate finance support for social impact which trying to work and bring diversity and inclusion, and increasing public knowledge and awareness on disability. This sensitization is very important. It is going to play a very important role.
Like, so thank you so much, Ravindra. That is so deep, and Sujay, your input was really great. But as they say that every cloud has a silver lining, right? So COVID, and no, I'm not trying to downplay what COVID has wreaked on everybody, including families and people and corporates and everybody. But COVID has, in fact, brought about this awareness, if not acceptance, but at least the awareness has started that there is a huge population that really needs, that doesn't need help. It is not assistance or help that is being sought. It is acceptance that is important. It is awareness that is important. It is the empathy that is important, that says, you know what, being inclusive is not like is not going to be like corporate social responsibility or CSR effort. Being inclusive is like something that actually does make business sense. And like Nishit Parikh, our CEO, keeps on saying that the concept of screening people for jobs has always been about screening out instead of screening in, where you try to figure a way out on which jobs are applicable to which candidate and how this thing fits. So that's very pertinent, and that's how I feel everybody should feel very strong. Now, if we can go back to the topic, if we say that many companies are turning towards technology to find answers to bring about more inclusion. Like, I'm not trying to pitch anything, but our company, which is Rangam, we are also a technology-based innovative workforce solutions company, where we try to figure out how technology will be able to aid, help, and improve diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So, like us, many companies are right now turning towards technology. Do you think that technology really is the answer? Is tech-enabled empathy going to be the path forward for making the diversity, disability, and inclusion a commonplace in all workplaces?
Yes, so I believe like we have seen how technology has played a role in empowering and encouraging diversity and inclusion to a certain extent, but there is lot needs to be done, and inclusion needs to be come on into the web accessibility and other factors. As we have seen the online meeting, for example, they have opened up enormous potential for person with limited mobility because it has been universally accepted by the society. So whenever you're working on the diversity and inclusion, the one aspect is that it should be widely accepted by the community. Then only we can see the impact in a wider role. And also we can see the online shopping, the experience that it has brought. It has brought the world closer for people with limited mobility, how they can shop with dignity. And I believe like disability is widely acknowledged as a human right issue, and people are disabled not only by their bodies but also by society. And we see right now there are lots of momentum happening into this space, and organization, institutions, and individuals, they are working towards the diversity and inclusion. So that's a great move. Yes, Sujay.
Sujay?
Yeah, just to add to that, I will add one more. I won't say pillar. Technology-enabled assistance is required, but what also required the perspective towards it, the thought towards it, and what you already highlighted. I think that is Rangam's motto: empathy. So and addressing the unconscious bias which is inherent in us. See, I'm a person with a polio and had that, but I will not be able to address the challenges where a visually impaired person or the person with any kind of hearing impairment is there. So technology will give a leverage to different sections or different categories of disability, people with disability. But there's one more part is which is required, and almost 2% of our Indian population is people with disability. Almost total Indian population, roughly, I'm quoting 2% of the whole Indian population. So where we need to change, the needle needs to swing to the empathy and addressing the unconscious bias. We um, we have technology, and that is a given thing right now. But how do I change the attitude? One, how do I change the biases which is inherent in us, be it from different strata of the society, and how do we take, I will not use the word uplift, how do you improve the life of a person with disability from a not so privileged background? We are here speaking in a language which is understood not by the whole India, right? It is a privileged section, I would say, who can understand what we are speaking. But there is also a vast population and people who are at ground level, like Ravindra ji, they are working at a ground level. They will know much more. That people who can't speak, they are comfortable in vernacular language. They are not so privileged background. And I, before we went live, I was speaking to Ravindra ji about the wheelchair he's trying to make his company, where it will be a very cost effective. So So how can we reach to this underprivileged or maybe marginalized sections and bring the change there? Because the change can only happen if we include everybody, not the privileged section, not people who can speak English, work in a corporate, or something like that. They have to be from different intersectionality, different caste, creed, different orientation, different gender orientation, sexual orientation, and also people with disability. So if we and obviously the knowledge, the awareness, the sensitization is required, and it has to include the invisible disabilities as well. Like the I am a person. I walk with a crutch. I wear a pole. I wear a caliper. People can see that I am disabled. What about the neurodivergent disability? Well, that is a vast population, and technology is there nowadays where we can train people, where there are examples where we and how can we make those technology available to all, as well as with the help of government, with the help of corporate, be it any forum, and the NGOs as well, and make it for all. And rather, it will not happen in a day or in a year or some. It will take some time, but there should be a plan. There should be some plan across the board. I think that then only the mission of including proper inclusion, a diverse inclusion, will be possible.
True. I mean, universal inclusion is the goal, I guess. It should be inclusion, as you rightly said, Sujay, that it should be inclusion at all levels, all strata of the society, for everybody. And nobody should be left out of the equation in terms of be it jobs, be it education, be it social infrastructure, be it services, be it anything, right? So, once again, I feel that now is the best time to be part. I mean, there are, I shouldn't say, it might not be the right thing to say, but here I'm saying it. So forgive me if I step a line and please let me know. But I feel that we have lost a lot of time, a lot of potential because of lack of all these practices that we are now talking about. If this thing had been like been in, it's not like disability and inclusion is a new topic. It's something that we are now trying to gauge and understand how important it is, how vital it is to bring a new perspective, be it into a team, be it into an organization, be it into a society. Having multiple perspectives and diverse views makes it more not only inclusive but makes it more progressive, makes the thought process and everything changes. So I feel that even though we have lost quite a bit of time, I feel this is the right time for, with so much infrastructure, so much technology, and so much penetration of technology, I feel this is the best time to, take the next steps and take this to the next level with many organizations, including Ravindraji's organization. As you said, truly said, Sujoy, that working at the grassroots is also key because that is where everything happens. In discussions like this are like great, but then actually the people that are working on the ground actually make the difference.
Right. I would like to add.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would just like to add on both the points. The number one, I believe like we are at the right time and we are talking and there are lots of implementation happening. That is the best part to bring the diversity and inclusion. As per the recent data released by government, by 2050, the population which will be needing such resources is going to increase to 320 million. There would be a rise from 8% to 19% of the Indian population only. And like this diversity and inclusion, it's a global challenge. The one thing, so we feel like this is the right time when we start building the resources, and when we talk about the inclusion, sometimes we don't include the people who is not getting included due to maybe temporary disability due to our old age. Because what I believe in the entire life cycle, 50% experience the uninclusion, or we can say they feel not included to the society, and that needs to be addressed.
And I was talking to somebody a couple of months back, and they told me that disability is not only disability that comes by birth. There are many ways that somebody experiences disability, and then by that disinclusion, and everybody goes through it because of maybe an accident, that maybe anything, and that makes it very important that we address these issues. See, as Sujay was touching upon, that let's talk about biases. Let's talk about how they come in and how they come into play. And I would like to learn from you, Ravindraji and Sujay. Let's talk about biases, the conscious biases, the unconscious biases. Right now we are talking about technology, artificial intelligence. It also comes with biases. Everything comes with biases. So let's talk. Who would like to go first? I mean, a little bit more about that.
I can add a little, and then Ravindraji can continue that. So yeah, when just simple example, when you see a person with disability, then the immediate reaction is the person cannot do certain things. Okay, the person will not be able to do or cannot deliver this many things. So I'm talking from the corporate scenario. But are we creating the ecosystem, what Ravindraji was saying, where the person will be able to perform to the best of the abilities? One. Second, are we addressing those issues with the like people who will be hiring those person with disability, or people who are not aware of the type of disability the person is going through? Because everybody's journey is different, everybody's life is different. And as Chandramuli, you are saying that many people are not aware of the different kind of disabilities, right? A certain person only need example. For me, if I can take my example, I'm not a wheelchair user as such, but I walk with crutches. I can take a ramp, I may not take a ramp, but I cannot climb stairs like from fourth floor. I cannot. Whether the facility has lift, whether the facility has a proper ramp for a wheelchair user, whether the facility have a tactile structure in the place, and then the company is ready to hire people. One. Second is unconscious biases at, especially it happens with the neurodivergent people with neurodivergent disability. So we don't talk about it, we don't address it, and sometimes we quote them that they are not fit enough for the job. But if you map the correct skill set and the correct role, then the things will be much easier. I mean, I have been telling in various forums in other places in my company as well, that when we are trying to hire somebody, what we should see the person is able or person is able to perform the job. So the second part is important. The person's physical fitness or something is doesn't relate, because half of the time we are seated at a place, work from computer or something, if it's an IT job. But if it's something which needs a physical labor or something, that's a different set of hiring we should do. We should look into a different categories of disabled person. So, and since our society is quote unquote not very open with people with disability, and we all have been that experience as well, and there is a stigma, there is certain kind of biases attached to it. It becomes difficult if you don't address it at a very early level. I mean, that day, as we were talking, you recollect that sometimes people say like disabled people. I'm not meaning anybody anything that maybe a sin or something because out of something. So those things need to be addressed at a very early level, where it comes from the parenting, it's come from the education, and that those kind of education should be incorporated in our educational system, where we tell people, we increase their knowledge about different kind of disability existence. And obviously, I would stop here and just add one more point is we should give more positive stories. We should come up with more idols, more people who are achievers in the disability sector, and put them in the front. Let them talk. Let them come up with their example of success and talk to people, and then only the biases can be addressed. Ravindraji, I don't know if you want to add anything to the
Yes,
point, and then your experience is vast. So
I would like to add here, Sujay. So I share similar story with Sujay. I am a person with disability since birth, and I use crutches and calipers for my mobility. And this kind of biases, like I have been experiencing, like so, like when we are child 3 to 4 years of age, like we don't understand such things because no one has been judging us on disability or able body. But as we grow, so the biases, what I feel, starts from the home itself. For example, if my parents, like, they are very concerned about me, and because I've been keep hearing when I interact with many parents who have a person with disabilities, so like they have a thought process ki, till the time I'm alive, I will take care of them. Even that's a biases because the parents somewhere they are thinking in a different perspective ki they want to take care of their child, but they somehow not understand ki how after them what will happen, how the person with disability can get empowered. So that is the one thing. And like when I was growing up, so I experienced the biases like when I was not able to get admitted in the school. And the sad part is that such kind of practices still happening. It's not coming into the notice, but it's across globe, like it keeps happening. So these are the biases. And rightly said by Sujay, like more than like people with disabilities, like they don't have a good issue. It's about the opportunity, and the equal opportunity can be created when we see human being with a similar lens, not with the point of disability.
I mean, you both touched upon so many things and through personal experiences that I should not and I cannot add anything. But one of my coworkers is a very good writer, and he was talking to me the other day and today in the afternoon also. And he's like, as a society, as workplaces, as schools, as colleges, there is this neurotypical privilege that is exerted, not taught, but it is exerted in such a way that only people who are able-bodied, as they're called, are the ones who get all the facilities, are the ones who get everything, whatever be facilities or jobs. And I think it's time that we need to let go of our neurotypical privilege in the society and see the world through a lens of, disability, of our disabled people or partners or friends, and we need to, so that we understand what they actually feel. I mean, that is what true empathy is, right? Empathy is not, I mean, I sometimes feel, and maybe my experiences or my exposures are not that great, but whatever I have been exposed to, sometimes I feel the efforts are more towards generating towards or leaning towards sympathy than empathy, where the feeling is we'll do something sympathetically, but people don't really empathize with it. So I feel, and I just wanted to say this over here because he also feels very strongly, and we at Rangam feel very strongly about this topic. And we really think that it's about time, as we say. Uh, do you really think, how do you see the space change for disability inclusion? How are you looking at, I mean, you are already looking at things changing, that improvements are being made, there are steps that are being taken that are progressive in many ways. But do you read, how have you seen these changes? Personal experiences would be good if you can share any, if you feel comfortable. But what changes have you seen? What was the past? What is right now? And how do you foresee the future?
Sure. So like we said, like very thin line between sympathy and empathy, and lots of things get changed when people see with the lens of empathy. Because I have experience to share. Like one of my colleagues, like we have been working in various projects, and like he was mentoring to someone with people with like person with disability on their project, and then he has written one post in LinkedIn like, oh, like I'm feeling so good about helping people with disability to empower them. I have never worked uh, before with any people with disabilities. And then he met me one day for some work, and he was saying I have mentioned that post and I haven't realized your disability. So if we are able to cultivate those kind of culture into our workplace or into like everything that we do, that is going to change a lot of things for many people, and that can bring a change. Yes, Sujay, I would like to add.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with you, whatever you said. And as technology, today's, I mean, our topic is started with technology-enabled assistance. That is a game changer. Uh, the reason being, as a kid, if a disabled kid can be educated without going to school, they can have a disabled child can, and their parents will be fully comfortable uh, having their child educated within the boundaries of the wall if the person cannot go to, if the child cannot go to the school because of certain kind of disability. So technology has shown that it is possible, one. And but obviously there is also an association with in the real society, where which is also needed. It should be a hybrid model, I would say, where a person with disability may not be able to fully function in a not so accessible ambience, but can do a hybrid model where the uh, bringing where the person grows properly, having experience from both the sections. One, which is the education, which is the knowledge which the person is getting added every day, they're getting from the school books and whatever. And the second one, also not missing out with society at large. So that hybrid model with more focus on technology for people with disability, kids with disability, will definitely make it a very balanced ecosystem where everybody is included, everybody is, and obviously the empathy is more important aspect to play. Along with that, they will become a part of the whole society. They are not like that percentage or the quota. I mean, sorry for quoting that. That percentage of a person should be hired in a company, some 2%, 3%. It should not be like that. It should be like, I am hiring this person because the person has this many skills. One, that's it. It stops there. Disability is that person's identity. And I must mention this. We sometimes we always say, I mean, differently abled and specially abled. I saw in one of the sessions in masterclass a few days back, somebody was referring that differently abled or specially abled doesn't give justice to the word, or where the person, I mean, if the person is disabled or person with a disability. The reason being, I cannot do certain things different way. I can't do, for example, I cannot climb a mountain or do something because I'm a polio person. I can't do that. Okay, but I can do a lot of other things. So we can address and we can bring that elephant in the room, saying that, okay, I am disabled, these are my challenges, and these are the things which I can bring to the table, and the person will can be get hired. I'm not about the job or something. The person can be included in the society in its true sense. So those are the things I think we can start doing at a very early level, and where we properly educate our whole society about inclusion and diversity. Then only the things will change, and then it will definitely reach to the grassroots level, where the benefits will be reaped, not right now, but maybe 5 or 10 years from now, where we'll see the next generation are fully aware, and when they hold positions in organizations, companies, government, they have their policies keeping in mind people with disability.
That's so very right. I mean, I think it is high time that we start looking at talent and abilities instead of people and putting them into various categories and boxes. And, you know, as we spoke earlier also, it should be screening in of candidates. We should not be trying to, I feel sometimes we try really hard to eliminate candidates by saying, he cannot or she cannot do this and she cannot do that and they cannot do. But we are not trying to be inclusive by saying, what, we understand you cannot do this, but there is another opportunity somewhere where you can do. Let us think about it. But thinking out of the box, like trying to connect people jobs with their abilities, where everybody wins, right? The organization wins because they get a really good team member. The person also wins because his abilities are being recognized and not being looked down upon because of something else. Having said that, I think, Sujoy, you touched upon something I feel that we should also be talking about. But I think we are coming close to our time. So what we'll do is, I feel this would be the last question or topic that I'd like to touch a little bit upon. As I said earlier, we are a technology-backed workforce innovations and solutions company. So we always feel that adoption of technology will bring about result-based practices and bring D&I efforts and D&I to a level where you do not have to talk about these down the line, where the organization is totally diverse, totally inclusive. What are your thoughts? Do you think that day will come to that at some point of time?
Yes, I am very hopeful about it, and I know I see the changes. I see when I talk in my EBRG employee business resource group, and their intent is positive. And I was reading somewhere some study where some of the organizations are uh, uh, trying to hire, or rather have that intent to hire people with disability from all categories, visible, invisible. I mean, I'm talking about neurodivergent and other physical disabilities as well. And they're understanding one, since the technology has made our job easy, so definitely we can leverage that and hire person who have certain limitations, let's put it that way, but still can be able to deliver those. And those days are not very far. It may be at the offing, it may be down the line another 4 or 5 years, I can see that. But yes, but does it transfer to the conventional industries? IT industries are doing pioneering in that, maybe to a certain extent, but it should also permeate to the different levels at a grassroots level, at an organization which are traditional. There should also be scope, and we should work together, leveraging the technology which is at our disposal. So I think that those days, I'm hopeful about that. So long story short, there is always a silver lining, and there is a sunshine. So and it's a good start. We are having this discussions, and it should continue. I would add to that. I think Ravindra ji, you want to add to that?
Yes, so I would just like to add, like, it's great that we are hiring people with disabilities, creating an inclusive work environment. What I believe, along with that, creating an inclusive environment, a comfortable environment for the person with disabilities joining the organization is equally important. So sensitizing, giving the right kind of knowledge to the colleagues that is going to work, the managers that he is going to report, that should be also be touched upon. Then only, like, it is going to serve a purpose. When I was interacting to few of the colleagues, so this was the one point that came, the acceptance by the other people. Thank you.
I wanted to end at this note because this is pretty positive, but then I saw that on LinkedIn somebody was one of our viewers has asked a question that, and I know it might be a little bit off topic for us right now, but your views are still very much, both you and Ravindraji and Sujay, your views are very much wanted. So I just wanted to put that question out to you, that the question is, like, is the state and there is the central government has put out mandates for making infrastructure, making designs, making everything accessible. But are there any punitive measures? Like, if a certain building is built without a ramp, a certain building has no accessibility or has accessibility issues, are there measures that they won't get permits or whatever? I know it is way off topic, but since it's a question, wanted to see what your thoughts were.
I think I will just add to that. I mean, the question is very right and very pertinent. There are offices which don't have proper ramp, or the ramp is not in a usable condition. They don't have lift, but you have to go to the offices. I'm talking about government offices here, minded, by climbing stairs, which is not possible for people with disability and elderly people as well, right? So punitive measures, how can you find the government who is not doing it? So I don't think these are effective. These are effective. These are actually in the policies mostly, and we do, many companies, many NGOs have been asked to do audit by the government who are in the disability sector, whether to evaluate whether a certain organization, certain facility, certain administrative house is with ramp or something. But they do that and they submit the report. I don't know what happens in the report, to be very honest. I'm not aware of that. But I think rather than punitive measures would have been very harsh. But if we start making them aware that these are the challenges a person can feel if they come to the building, come to the setup, then I think as a human being, we are not bad. We are not that bad. So we will start thinking about it. So we will start thinking, okay, can we do it in a different way? Can we make things possible? And anyway, there is financial constraint and so on. But we can make it a little more hospitable for everybody. One. Second, and there should be establishments who have ramp. And if you recollect in our discussion in the past, like the ramps are there, but it is not a ramp. It is something else. Other than ramp, it is everything else where a wheelchair cannot go, a person cannot walk. It is a slippery and so on and so forth, or it doesn't have a tactile marking and so on. So punitive measures will may force some organizations to do it, and there is also flip side of it. Punitive measures may also take some organizations, they become skeptical that we have to do so much because we have a limited budget. We can't do so many. So there should be a support system, or rather an ecosystem, where we can build something. Awareness is the first one to start, and then take it one by one. If we sometimes we say if you do it by force, people will do it, but it will not be followed up down the line. You have to make the people understand that this is the channels and this is the person's which when a person with a disability comes in a facility goes through the mental aspect of it, and that will make it much more easier, I think, for organizations, for anybody anywhere, to understand the real challenges. I think to answer the questions, punitive measures, application of punitive measures will not be effective unless the awareness, as Ravindraji has said, unless the acceptance, unless the removal of biases are there, right? Ravindraji, you want to add?
Yes, yes. Like this topic is very close to my heart, and so like I have several instances that I can share, but I would like to point out one or two. So when we're talking about the accessibility, it's not only about the government buildings or the private buildings. The fact is that 97% of the India infrastructure is not accessible. So I'll share my personal incident. I had to visit the PWD department of my locality, and like I was amazed, the PWD department was set up on a second floor. It doesn't have a lift. It doesn't have a ramp. When the department is for a person with disability and it's not accessible, how the person with disability is going to get benefited out of that? And like in 2015, like there was a Sugam Bharat Abhiyan carried out by the government, and then they did some audit of more than 100 plus government building to make them accessible, and the detailed report was submitted. And when I just went back in 2019 before COVID just to see like what the changes or the implementation has been done, and but there was nothing changes has been done. So whatever the work that is happening is mostly it's happening on the paper. People are talking about it, but I believe the enforcement force which needs to be implemented at ground, that is very critical.
I mean, I agree with you. That is the reason I brought this question up. I know it was out of our gambit of talk, but then I thought maybe let me ask you because you both are here and somebody asked a question. I hope that helps the person who asked us on LinkedIn to understand this better. Having said that, I would like to say that everybody has good intentions. Nish, our CEO, also keeps on. This is what I have learned while working for 8 years with him. Everybody has good intentions. Everybody does. It's just the awareness is lacking sometimes. Sometimes the application is lacking. So basically, it is how you get educated, not not in terms of traditional levels of education, not in school, but as a society, how you're educated, how you're being taught about all these differences that exist within the society. So you become more accepting to it, and all those things also do make an impact. We are actually on time right now, and I'd like to end this on time. So I mean, these are conversations that I love having. And it was the other day when we had our first interaction, also, I told you it was an amazing interaction and it was really interesting. And this interaction is also so amazing. And we ran out of time. There are a bunch of questions I really wanted to ask you, but I will not go there. Having said that, I wanted to thank Sujoy and I wanted to thank Ravindraji for taking time out of their schedules to come and talk to us. I wanted to thank Soumya for doing this amazing job of doing a sign language interpretation for us. I wanted to thank all our partners. I want to thank everybody who's listening. And I would like to say that these are not conversations that can solve a problem in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour too. These are, but I feel that these type of conversations will keep on moving the needle a little bit ahead. I really want to thank you, Sujoy and Ravindraji, for helping us out. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. You all have a nice evening, and we will see you here tomorrow again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.